workshop last week, and it was amazing, 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 amazing. But there are people whose destinies are connected, like clusters of people whose destinies are connected to you doing the thing that you wanted to do. Like, absolutely, their destiny is connected to it. And I think like society and culture makes us all feel like we're nothing. Like if you're not a Kardashian, or you're not like super famous, or you're not this or you're not that, you're nothing. When really it's the average person, like every single person that's watching this, that's making the whole world go round. Like it's very unlikely that you're going to just meet Oprah tomorrow and Oprah's going to change your life and get say like you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Like the people who are making the biggest differences in society are everyday people. It was the teacher who took you to the side and really spoke into you and gave you the extra help with your homework, and maybe you were a slow reader and that teacher took the time to help you, or maybe you were an ESL student and you didn't speak English very well. It was that person that brought you to the side and helped you learn the language. It's that coworker or that manager that helped you emotionally survive, you know, your new position or the company that you're in, and suddenly you got promoted and now you can take other people to the next level. It was the coach, that coached you in college, and they decided that they were going to go for it, and they're like, look, you know what, I deserve to be a D1 coach, and they made that their track because they decided to go for their dreams. You had that coach to help you when you were a Division 1 football player. It's the person who decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to be on the staff of this, I don't know, NFL team, or I'm going to, follow my dreams as a engineer in music or something like that. But every time you find yourself in the room with someone great, I promise you that person had to make sacrifices to get there, and they really had to stand up and gain the confidence and the boldness to be in the room with you. And if they hadn't done that, and they hadn't believed in themselves, and they hadn't decided to do things differently, thank you so much for liking it. God bless you. And if they had decided to make those changes, if they haven't decided to just go for the gusto, if they never made those decisions, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to work with them. And some of you guys are supposed to be that person for someone else. And I think the issue is that everyone's waiting to meet that person, the person that's going to change their lives, the person that's going to pour into them, the person that's going to motivate them, the person that's going to inspire them, the person that's going to give them the money. Like everyone's looking to meet that person. But the reason you're not meeting them is many of you guys are meant to be that person. So if everyone's looking for, some sort of savior, right? That ain't the Lord, that ain't Jesus, then the saviors aren't showing up. And that's a big life decision of deciding that, hey, I'm going to be the person in the room. I am going to be the person to pour into others. I'm going to be the person to provide opportunities. I'm going to be the person to help someone gain their turnaround. I'm going to be the person that's going to fix this issue in the industry. I'm going to be the person who's going to find the solution for said problem. Oh, this neighborhood is trash. I'm going to be the person to go and revitalize it. I'm going to go and get the grant money. I'm going to go get the funding. I'm going to find the contractors. I'm going to buy the properties. I'm going to be the person to get the job done. But you just have to decide to be the person, right? Bam, this is so me. Tree, I hope that this makes you say, okay, let me go ahead and be the person. Or are you saying you're already the person? So you got to make sure that that you're showing up. And we're living in a society where everyone wants someone else to show up for them, but no one wants to show up for anyone else. No one wants to be the person to take the risk. No one wants to be the person that has to be vulnerable. No one wants to be the person that puts themselves out there, right? And then we'll do that, and then we get jealous of yes, you are. And we'll get jealous of the people who do it. But the leaders in this world are people who see a problem and decide to fix it. Right? That's how you stop generational patterns and cycles. It's not by pointing the finger, right? It's by being the person who decides that I'm going to be the one to fix it. Point blank in the period. You have to make the decision. You've got to have some sort of vision, right? And just waiting for it to come to you and just doing what you've always done and doing what you've been doing is going to get you exactly what you have right now. And I don't think there's a person, well, there are people who have just settled. Let's just say that, right? And life has beat them up. They've been devoured, right? And they've been swallowed up, all of these different things. And then they've just mentally quit. They're still going around, but they're like the Walking Dead. Yeah. Right? Fearless. You have to be fearless and forward thinking. Absolutely. So they're like the Walking Dead. They're just going with emotions. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but they just won't change, right? They won't do anything different. They won't put themselves out there and, they won't follow their dreams. And I think we've all been that person. I've been the person before too. And the worst part about it is it puts you in a mindset. Thank you so much for following King GLO. And the problem with that is that eventually you'll start to get like resentful. And you're walking around bitter with a lot of resentment or everything is about the past. You become what you've always been. All you do is talk about the good times and things always look better in the past than where they are in the present, right? How many of you guys know people like that all they do is reminisce about the good old days? But it's like, that's great and all, but how about we make today a good old day? Hey, Jessica, I miss you so much. Every time I think about Long Beach, I think about you. Anyway. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So you have to decide to be that person. You have to decide to do the things that you need to do to get ahead, make the changes. And this is the thing that I love about it is we always know what the thing is. We always know it's in your heart. It's in your spirit. You think about it all the time. You dream about it. You fantasize about it. You're like, man, it would sure be nice if this, right? But you think about it too much like a dream instead of something that you're really going after. And the thing is that the reason being is that we have been convinced that convention is the only way of becoming successful, right? Through conventional methods. I'm enjoying, yes. Good, but I don't want to just motivate you. Hopefully this makes you actually do something. I don't want you to just feel good. Maybe I need to be mean. Get up. Do this. Because, okay, and I'm happy that it makes you feel better, but really, I do care about your feelings, but I don't care about your feelings, right? I want things for you to get real change. And there's and because a lot of people do things to make them feel good. Like you can go and watch Netflix right now and you'll start feeling good. You can get a nice dopamine hit. And I don't want people to just come to my page for a good dopamine hit. I want you to experience real transformation. There's been a lot of really good testimonies that have come from the lives, that have come from the workshops, that have come from people just even getting the vision workbook and getting intentional about what it is that they want to do. And especially we live in this society where everyone is like super into self-care, right? But a part of self-care is stewarding your gift, is stewarding your vision, is stewarding your ideas, is protecting them, promoting them, right? That's a part of self-care as well. Is doing something with what's inside of you. Because it came at a cost, right? Your ideas, what you can create, your abilities, your creativity, your inclinations, the things that your skills, all of those things are valuable, but it's up to you to steward those things and do something with it. When people say like this person didn't do anything with their life, really what they're saying is you had a gift that you did nothing with. You just left it on like your bedside table like you do your keys or something like that. Or like that apple that we all swear we're going to eat that day and you just never take it out of the house, right? Or like the salad we get and we're like, I'm going to eat this salad this week, and knowing good and well you're not going to do it. So a lot of people do that with their talents or with their gifts, or they do something with it and they can't deal with the rejection that comes. They can't deal with the learning curve. They can't deal with the process of what it takes to really get that thing going. And there's a process to building everything. That's one of the things that I miss about some of the things that we had to learn how to do with our hands, like going to art class in school. Like I don't even know if kids take art anymore, or going to gym class and things like that, or whatever, because we've missed out on remembering that things had a process. There's a process to creating art. There's a process to building a birdhouse. There's a process to learning how to do the whole rope climb thing in gym class. And maybe at the beginning of the year you couldn't do it, and then you did enough push-ups, and by the end of the year you can get. I never made it all the way to the top, y'all. But I went from not being able to do it at all to at least being able to go up a few, right? To where we miss that, and so we lose touch with the concept that everything that we want, everything that we desire, is going to be a process. And it's because there's so many things. Thank you so much for liking, TJ. There's so many things that don't have a process to it anymore. They don't have a process to it anymore. And so we expect that nothing's going to have a process, that everything's going to be instant. And then when we face reality, it's not that you're a failure, it's just that your strategy and your expectations were failing. And like we experience that letdown when expectations don't meet reality. What you expected, right? Whether you said it or it was a subconscious expectation, which most of us have unstated expectations. And let me let you know, any unsaid expectation is very likely to not be met, right? And then we get resentful or let down when it doesn't happen. And one of our unstated expectations is that we expect immediate results on every action that we take. And that's not even the laws of the universe. Like even plants don't grow that way. You don't put the seed in the ground and then you get a harvest immediately. It just doesn't work that way. Right? And anything that, does have that, don't we know it's kind of robbed of the nutrition, kind of like putting food in the microwave? And so you put the food in the microwave. Yes, it heats it up really quickly, but it also like zaps out most of the nutritional value of what goes in there. So anything that comes fast, usually you're not going to really be able to feel it and experience it. Jessica said facts. You're really not going to experience it as well. So you want to make sure that you have the proper expectation of what it takes to build something. And you have to prepare for that process. The funny part is I just planted some strawberries a few weeks ago, and I'm actually extremely surprised that I'm starting to see strawberries. But let me tell y'all, I've been watching these things. I've been talking to them. I've been praying on these strawberries. I've been like, look, strawberries, you are welcome here. You're going to thrive. Things are going very well. And I put them, right. It's very, you have to follow the natural order of things, right? And now that doesn't mean that everything's going to happen conventionally. Like there's some times where, God blesses you and you just get a supernatural boom, 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 right? There are those times. There's been some times in my life where I know it was God. Well, there's been a lot of times in my life where I know it was God and not me. And and he defied the natural laws, and then some amazing luck happened, and it won't grow in bad soil like clay. Exactly. So I put these strawberries in the ground. I was loving on them and everything. And I looked out there today. I was like, y'all, we got some baby strawberries. Now they haven't turned red yet or whatever. But I was just so surprised that it happened that quickly. But that quickly was still a few weeks, right? Or maybe it's been a month or two. It's probably been 2 months, right? But I was so, so excited. But we don't treat life like that. We put the seed in the ground. We come up with the idea. We do one post. We market for 5 seconds, and we're like, why? Why isn't anything happening? And then you quit and just go back to what you know, right? How can it be God and luck? I'm confused. What I'm saying is that sometimes we call things like, man, I got lucky, right? Because that's what people say, I got lucky, when really it was just God blessed it. You get what I'm saying? And so there's a lot of things that, I may have been like, oh my gosh, you know, well, then it's luck. LOL. What I'm saying is that it's not actually luck, that you really got blessed. You just never recognized it. you just didn't think of it like that. You didn't give him his credit. But that's okay, right? So, and the reason it's okay is because, yeah, and the reason it's okay is God isn't petty like us. He doesn't, like, he wants his credit, but he's not gonna be like, and then you didn't even say thank you. It's just like, all right. He says he makes it rain on both the just and the unjust, and he blesses whomever he chooses. So, but he is jealous and he wants his credit, but yeah, meaning he doesn't want any idolatry. But you're trying to get me off track, friend. Don't try to get me in here and preaching. So the first thing that you really want to do, right, is that you want to, one, really, really decide that this is going to be the last day that you leave your gift on your side table, on your end table. This is going to be the last day. Whatever the gift is, whatever the idea is, whatever that thing is, you have to decide, I'm going to water this thing. I'm going to water it. I'm not going to wait around for the perfect moment. I'm not going to check with 10 people just to make sure it's a good idea. Because sometimes that's what that is. You're waiting for someone to tell you it's okay for you to follow your dreams. And that's really stupid. I'm sorry, that wasn't nice. That is unwise. I didn't mean to say that's stupid. It's unwise. I've had too much coffee. So sometimes we're sitting around waiting for someone to say, oh, it's totally okay for you to do that, right? Because someone maybe a million years ago planted it in your mind that maybe you're not that great. Or people that say, like, never drink coffee, you're supposed to smell it. Friend, I like coffee. And I'm one of the people that it's not even really the caffeine. I really like the taste of coffee. Like, I enjoy the taste of coffee. And it's the strangest thing, but I do. That's why I can drink decaf and enjoy it, because it's yeah, I like the taste of coffee and chocolate and everything else, right? So you want to make sure that you're going for it. Just decide that today's the last day that you're going to leave that thing on the table. At least try. At least try. Just like when you're going on like a long trip and your mom's like, go use the bathroom. I don't have to. Just try. At least try. Throw it out there. Start the process, right? Start the process. And let me tell you too, you said that's what beats a failure is a try. Exactly. But also too, like, failure is a part of the process. Like, we learn from our failures. But just because you fail doesn't mean you are a failure. You're just someone who has fallen or failed at something. And so one of the things that you'll notice about people, and I've noticed about people that are wildly successful, is that they don't care about failing, and they don't care about failing publicly. They just have the audacity to go out, put themselves out there, and let the chips fall as they may be, or as they might, whatever the saying is, right? Whether it's a business, whether it's an idea, whether it's going into a new industry, they're gonna try something. It's like, when people say, like, all right, let me see something. people who make it, those are people that are like, let me see something. I'm gonna put it out. See what happens. And really, that's how you gain the information you need to build something that is successful. Is you get to see what people like. Like, I'll give you guys an example. One of the things that I've changed is I don't do a lot of like online courses anymore. I do workbooks and actually workshops where I can interact with people. Why? Because results taught me that a lot of people don't like, or from me anyway, they prefer to either work with me live or just get the information that they can do quickly, work in small groups. They want some sort of interaction or something quick. And so I just saw the results from that. I'm like, okay, core sales, nothing. Workbooks, a lot. Workshops, way better. You know, in-person events, better. In-person classes, I teach dance, I do all these other things. And it doesn't mean the online stuff doesn't work, but getting like the failures or the low results in one area will show you what is working. I do it for my jewelry company, right? Sometimes I get things and I stock with things and I'm like, let me see if someone's going to like it. And whether or not people consume it lets me know whether I should buy more of that or make more of that or something like that, or whether I need to let it go and just put it on sale and say, okay. And then over the years, I figured out, okay, my customer base, they really like getting things like this from me. Like, I've noticed for my customer base and for my business, I don't sell a lot of hoop earrings for that business. So I already know if I'm going to go into something, it better be really different. Thank you. It better be really different, very unique or whatever, because a lot of people just don't buy hoops from me. But but that's how failure works, right? That's how failure works, is it gives you the information that's necessary to pivot, right? I'd rather do things with live videos versus ads. Why? Because for me, I get more results with that. And part of it too is you gotta get into something to figure out what your magic formula is going to be. Like, one of the best things about me is that I am engaging and I do connect well with people. So why would I not have that? And why would I not lead with that? But let's say, for instance, you're an introvert, but you are like very, very detailed. Your design aesthetic is amazing. You know how to catch the eye. You know how to do all of that stuff, right? Then maybe, doing live things isn't for you. You might want to just run ads, or you might want to just have some really, really beautiful content, because that's the formula that's going to work for you. All I'm saying all that to say is that you have to try something. But being afraid to fail is crazy, because failure is what gives you the information you need to do the next thing. King Herod got smitten by Yahweh because when the people appreciated his awesomeness, Herod didn't give God his glory. God was low key petty, and an angel smite Herod. Just saying. He said low key petty. I'm not saying as petty as us, but thank you so much, Fibby. I'm gonna have to go back and read that. So maybe that was a low key petty moment. Yeah. That's pretty funny. I'm gonna have to go back and read that, right? So yeah, so you have to be willing to try and do something. And the reason I say that is I'm meeting so many people. I'll say this: every coaching client that I have, there's always a hidden goal or desire that they want that they keep pushing off. I've never ever had a client that didn't have a goal or something they wanted really badly that they were convincing themselves that either they shouldn't want it, it's not the time, or they've just been brushing past the wayside. And I know if I am 10 for 10, 100% by 100% in this area, y'all are doing the same thing. Oh, thank you so much, Jessica. And this is my time. Someone prophesied that I needed to go live at 12 o'clock on Wednesday. So I'm just being obedient and trying to make sure that I'm online at 12 o'clock. So I'm glad that the Lord answered your prayers. Good job, Holy Spirit. Okay. Holy Spirit is connecting all of us. Nothing is just by chance. Nothing's by chance. So hello. Hey, Pure Essence Bad Bombs. So whenever, yeah, thank y'all so much for liking the live. If you want to take it to the next level, share it with like 10 people. Just go through your little page and go do, 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 do. And so you have to be okay with going after that goal. And this is and we all I have to check myself about it too all the time. Because people will tell us, thank you so much for sharing. People will tell us like, oh, it's not a big deal, or maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe da da da. And we tell ourselves that it's not important, but that thing that you want is actually what's going to motivate you. And this is how I know. Our subconscious, right? Our subconscious has only developed up to about the age of 8. And the things that we really want that are going to motivate us are just all the silly things, the things that seem like they're immature, the things that just make us happy. And it's probably something that always brought you to that point. For instance, when I was a kid that loved to go and like play out in the woods. I just really like doing that. I like just roaming around, playing in the woods, being in nature, stuff like that. Those are things that I still love. One of the best ways for me to stay motivated is to have some sort of trip where I can go and be wild and free and traverse, and travel the globe to some weird place and see weird things. And well, I don't like monkeys, but I'll still see some monkeys, even though me and monkeys are not friends. We do not have a trusting relationship anymore, thanks to a particular monkey in Bali that ruined that experience for me. But doesn't mean I will not watch a monkey from afar, but I am no longer like, I don't trust monkeys. They're too, no. But anyway, but I will still go and see about what's happening and just, keep the monkeys at a distance. But I'll go to places like that and do that. And so one of the best motivators for me is having something like that on my schedule that I'm looking forward to. And it'll push me to go a little bit further than just my discipline will take me on a day-to-day basis. Because it's those goals and the things that we want that kind of light up your spirit. And you know that feeling when you have something you're really looking forward to on the schedule, how even when things may be tough or difficult right now, you get to that point, it's on the schedule, you're doing the thing, and then you're just a little excited, even if crazy things are happening today. Even if crazy things are happening today, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna be on vacation in a month. I have 4 weeks until my vacation. I have 8 weeks, or at the end of the year, it's gonna be this, and you start imagining what it's like and everything. That's what the goals are like. That's what the goals are like. Thank you so much for sharing it. That M&F and Spartan. I can't remember if you're a Spartan like from like Lansing, because I'm a Wolverine, so hopefully it's not that. Or maybe you're just saying like, this is Sparta. So anyway, so most of you have goals and things that you want that you've just kind of stuffed down in the back of your closet. You've stuffed it under the bed and you've hidden it away and you've kind of forgotten about it because you're saying that's not important, or it's too much, or it's too this, or it's too that. And I know you do, because any person I've ever coached in my life has always had these types of things, right? You may have had a dream or goal that you're going to go to the Masters. You may have had a dream or goal that where you want to go to, like, one of my aunties has always wanted to go to the BT Awards. Who knew, right? You may have, and I feel like had we known this a lot sooner, we totally could have put this together, right? Some of you guys, you want to get into real estate. Some people want to do, like, there's so many different things, so many different goals. And this is the hard part, is every time you don't go after it, you'll always wonder, like, what if? There is nothing worse that hunts a person than a what if. Just try it. Try it, especially if it's good, especially if it's not something that's hurting people or anything like that. Try it. Why not? The worst thing that could happen is exactly what's happening right now. Nothing. It goes nowhere. But if you don't do it, you're automatically defaulting for nothing happening, right? The worst thing that can happen is that it goes nowhere. My avoidant ex broke. No contact. What should I do? Lily, you might have to. My avoidant ex broke. No contact. What should I do? Meaning you with no contact and they're like stalking you? Is that what you mean? You might want to call the police. Yeah. Like, you know what to do. Why are you scared? You know what to do. Why are you scared? They took it there. Why don't you take it there? Oh, well, I mean, if you don't just, if it's that bad and they're harassing you and you don't call the police, you like it. Because some of that stuff can feed into your ego, right? It's like, see, I knew you couldn't hold off. So I mean, are you actually afraid? Are you actually afraid? Or are you just aggravated? Yeah. And I'll tell you this, right? Lily, I don't know you. This is your first time coming on here, but I'm going to be honest with you. Is this person the one? If not, cut it off. Stop wasting your time. We're on here talking about taking our lives to a different place, and you're talking about your ex, which means this person is taking up too much of your mental space. They're taking up way too much of your emotional space for something that's very likely not going anywhere. And now I'm not going to say that, relationships can't be challenging and sometimes we can all be petty and all that other stuff. But sometimes we just have to have that honest conversation with ourselves and say, look, is this really going somewhere? Is this, and I'm assuming, you're a lady, but, is this man going to love me like Christ loved the church so much that he'd give his life for me and sacrifice for me? If the answer is no, you're wasting your time. And this is another thing, y'all. One of the best ways to get the enemy will use and methods the enemy will use to get us off track, right? Or just people in your life to get you off track is just to distract you. So if you're spending all your time going back and forth, back and forth, and pontificating about this or that, about something that ain't worth the lint underneath your shoe, then you don't, all your time is being sucked up into that. And then you'll look up and your good years and your good time and all your emotional energy has been spent and invested into nothing. So why do it? Why waste your time with something like that? Especially if you have a gift. Lily, do you have a gift? Something that you want to do? I wouldn't waste my time. If there was anything I could like just go back and get, it wouldn't be like, oh, someone stole my Gucci bag, which they did. Shame on whoever did that. That stole my Gucci backpack. Not only did they do that, my laptop and everything in it, but that's why I don't buy those types of designer bags anymore. It wouldn't be like money. It wouldn't be anything. If I can just go back and get something, it would have been my time. All the time and the hours that I wasted going back and forth with people, being in false relationships, being in false jobs, being in false positions, false places, just things that really weren't for me, and all the time that I invested in those places. That would be the one thing I would go back and get, is everything that was false, that I put too much time and energy into. But Lily, I think you left. I guess you didn't like what I had to say. This is the thing. Lily, are you still here? Did you get mad and leave? You might have got mad and left. So y'all, I'm a very loving person. But if you don't like someone that's going to be direct and honest with you, because I'm always going to be committed to helping you get to the next place. And the same way that I know I want my time back, I want you to get your time back and not waste too much time going back and forth and something that's meaningless. So anyway, back to exactly what we were talking about, right? You have to be willing to take the risk. Take the risk, do it, go for it. And what I love about it is when you see someone just going after the thing that they really want and putting their time and energy into that, closing their back doors and saying, look, I'm going to at least try that. Those people always have peace about it, to where if they do decide to stop, if they do decide to shift directions, if they do decide to do something different, they're doing it from a space to where they're like, look, I know I at least tried. I don't have to deal with the what if. I've been there, I've done that, I've got the ticket. And actually, I realized that maybe I didn't really want it that bad. Maybe I thought I did because someone else suggested it, or I was comparing my experience to someone else's, or, whatever that thing would be. So you have to. Thank you, Raybert. You have to, be willing to just go for it. So that's the first thing that you have to do to break old patterns and cycles is be willing to go for it. And this is especially important for some of you because, and for many of us, because we may have been raised with around or by a lot of people who just settled. And a lot of times they promote that. Just go and do this. They always promote the easy track, the thing that requires you to take no sort of risk, just the thing that's steady, right? But what they don't know is that your heart has been burning for more. And you're doing that. And a lot of times it's just because people want you to avoid the pain of failure. But it's just like teaching a child to ride a bike. You know that they're going to have some pain. They're going to fall. But is the fall going to be that hard? Very few kids have broken their legs while learning how to ride a bike, right? If any. Unless they just, their parents set them up to do something crazy, like they're going down a mountainside on a bike for the first time. But that's typically not how things happen. Whatever it is you're trying to do, you're usually starting it at the ground level anyway. So when you fall from ground level, you don't fall that hard. Right? That's why process is important, because it's one thing to fall and it's another thing to fall from the top of a mountain. When you start something, you're falling from ground level anyway. So it's going to hurt a little bit, but it hurts your feelings more than anything else. Start from ground level. Start with what you have. Some people are like, well, I just don't want to invest anything. Well, invest time. Maybe in the beginning you don't put a whole lot of money and all this other stuff into it, right? But you can put your time and your energy into it. You can figure out what customers want. You can get it. You can get enough customers to get feedback. You can figure out what people want and desire. You can figure out what the market needs. You can figure out what they want to hear. You can figure out who your people are. One of the things that I had to do was spend some time just marketing and putting myself out there to just figure out who my people are. Hello, beautiful. Hello. Thank you. So yeah, you have to put yourself out there just so you can figure out who your people are. Now, this is the hard part. And the reason that I do this is because if you're trying to do something different, you're trying to break cycles, whether they're generational cycles in your life or whatever. Typically, when you begin the process, you don't have all the information necessary, or you may not understand or have great expectations or the right expectations about what's next. What's up, Rosie Bonds? I haven't seen you in so long, girl. I want to hear some good music. Y'all, one of my favorite writers just got on the live. So if somebody who's really, really good at writing a beautiful song, a classic hit, that's Rosie Bonds right now. So you have to be willing to engage the process. And so the hardest part about breaking generational cycles and patterns is that there's typically not someone immediately in front of you guiding you along the way. So you just gotta go, you gotta try something, you gotta see something. You gotta figure it out. And part of me doing these lives is to give you some of the information and the mindsets and to kind of boost you up enough, right? To boost you up enough to where you're willing to go and just try something. Now, when you go try it, go at it knowing with the expectation that you're going to mess up. And in the beginning, it takes you far more times. So I remember when I ran a sales company and we would hire new sales agents, I would always tell them, hey, you're going to get this, but just know in the beginning, you're probably going to lose weight. And they're like, what do you mean you're going to lose weight? Because you're going to have to see a lot more clients than everyone else does in order to see the same results. And it has nothing to do with the fact that you're horrible, but you just don't have the experience yet. And it takes time for your experience and your preparation to catch up with where you want to be. That's it, right? Confidence comes from two things. It's a simple equation. You take confidence equals experience and preparation. And you need both of those two things. And the greater that you are in preparation and the greater you are in experience, the greater your confidence is going to be. Unless you're just someone who's delusional, right? There are those people that's just going to like, I'm the best. And they just have a really, really strong self-image. But eventually they'll probably fall on their butt, but they'll eventually get the experience and the preparation for their confidence to be merited. So, but you have to take the goal out of the bag, out of the back of your closet, off your nightstand, whatever it is that you want to do. So that way you can jump out there and get the experience necessary for you to thrive. And that is just a part of the process. And that's something that you have to be willing to sacrifice, before you do it. But some of you, what you really, sometimes it's not that you don't want to do it. Some of y'all just can't articulate or have not articulated what your vision is. You don't know what you want to do. So you're like, I don't know, I don't know what I want to do. And you treat your goals in your life and your next steps or whatever like someone asked me, what do you want to eat? And you can't make up your mind. You're like, and so you do that for so long that you just go and eat a bag of chips and a soda. All right, and I do this all the time too. So you end up just grabbing whatever's near. You're like, look, I'm just gonna go to Wendy's. I'm gonna go to McDonald's real quick. Was that what I wanted? No, but it's also something that I don't have to think about. And this is hard because the part of our brain, right, which is the front part, I believe is our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that we use whenever we need to think through something takes up more energy. Meaning you got to burn more energy, burn more calories to use that part of the brain. And so neurologically, we naturally default to not using that as a method to conserve energy. So part of it, the reason why you don't want to have to think about that is because the body is always in this fight or flight type of thing, right? It's always in like survival mode of like, hey, we're going to need this energy. Are you sure you want to use it on this? Is it really that important? And so you really have to push back past that and use your mind and your will to push past that so you can get the information. All right. And y'all, everyone like the live and share with at least 4 or 5 people. So, and TikTok just told me to remind y'all of this, right? So, and I know how to follow directions. So part of the problem is that our brains just don't want to have to think that hard. And think about it. What are the things that you just skip out on just because you don't want to have to think about it? You don't want to have to plan. You don't want to have to strategize. You don't want to have to do all that because it just takes up too much energy. And sometimes it could just be, and a lot of times, not sometimes, there are other life stressors, like Lily's ex-boyfriend and whomever, right? That are sucking up all of our mental energy to where by the time we get to the things that actually matter, we don't have any energy to do it. So what do? We just put it on the back burner. That's why it is really important to steward your time and to steward your energy. The happiest people are people who know how to manage their emotional and mental and physical energy. Meaning, like, I know if I have things to do, I don't have time to listen to some gossip. I don't have time to listen to you complain. I don't have time to listen to XYZ because it just takes up too much emotional energy. And that's the energy that I need to grow the things that actually matter. And the thing and to be on my game, to be on my assignment. Those are the things that I really need to have. But if I'm spending all of my time on the petty stuff, then by the time it's time for me to do the real thing, I don't have the energy to do it. So if you don't know what your vision is and you need to take time out to just get clear about what you want. And this is for someone who that life has more for you. You know that something's missing. Maybe you're doing the things, but there's a missing piece and you can't figure out what the piece is. I have a workbook that all you do is fill it out, and you're gonna you're gonna know what the missing piece is. You're gonna have the aha moment, and you're gonna say, ah, well, that's what it was. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Once you have the aha moment, you are now accountable for doing something with the information. Once you have the aha moment, you are now accountable for doing something with the information. So if you need that, and you know you need that aha moment, and your mind is just like all your ideas and everything are just kind of swarming, go to my profile, click it. It's called Cultivating Vision and Strategy. Click it, download the workbook, fill it out. And if you want extra help with it, and they were on last night, they're not on today. But if you want extra help with it, scan it and email it to me. Hey, scan it and email it to me, and I'll give you feedback on it. Sometimes I'll read everyone's workbooks and I'm like, this is too small. You're playing it small. Because by the time you fill it out and you tell me, or you really write out to yourself and then eventually tell me what your gifts are, what your skills are, whatever, I'm able to envision like what you're like. And I'm like, okay, so these are your gifts, these are your skills. I know what the value that these things have. Why are you playing it small? Then we got to, kind of talk about that and revise that. But that's how you clear up some of the fog that you may have. Now, this is really important because, we know that without a vision, the people perish, meaning any area of your life where you don't have some sort of vision, that part of your life will begin to die off. It doesn't matter. And this is the thing that we do. We'll have a vision for one area and no vision for the rest of the area. So then our lives get out of balance. So you may have a vision for your career, but you don't have a vision for your family life. You don't have a vision for your health. You don't have a vision for your extracurriculars. You don't have a vision for your spiritual life. You don't have a vision for, how you are going to vacation or how you're going to play and have fun. You don't have a vision for how you're going to give back or anything like that. And then your life gets out of balance to where, you have this vision for your career, but you can't go after it because your health is all out of order. So this thing you're really good at, but everything that you didn't create a vision for is pulling at this. Or you didn't have a vision for your family life. So you get the career, you get the finances, but your family life is in shambles. And that's because we just don't take the time, or no one's told us, hey, you need to have a vision for every portion of your life that you want to prosper in. And if you don't have a vision for it, typically you are living out someone else's vision for it. Or you're just relying on what happens, meaning that thing just, goes wayward. And normally, whatever area that you don't have a vision for, that area of your life will run wild. And that is the area of your life where the devil will be running all up through there. Like, okay, you got your money together. Great. You got your money. But guess what? I'm going to drive your family crazy. You're not going to even be able to enjoy it. You're going to spend all the money that you made in divorce court. It's always something just like that. And really just simply having a vision and reminding yourself of and what that vision is, and living up to the vision that you established and abiding by, the rules of that vision, meaning just taking actions that are consistent with what it is you said you wanted to do will typically help with that. So those are for people who you're like, look, I know that there's more that I need to do. I'm foggy in this area. I know that life has more. I just don't know what that thing is, or I'm not really, really crystal clear. I don't have clarity about it. Download the workbook. It's $15. You spend more than that at Chick-fil-A. You do. At Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, because now those little burgers and stuff aren't $3 anymore. Yeah. You think I look like Venus Williams? A lot of people tell me that. I think we just have like the similar bone structure. But so I think it's one of those things to where you just really, you got to get clear on it. Go to my profile. It's called Cultivating Vision and Strategy. Like I said, if you fill it out, download it, fill it out today. It should only take you, I would say, 20 minutes to fill out. And this is because you're not going to second guess everything. For all of you guys who are super cerebral and you second guess everything, you doubt everything or whatever, go with your first mind. Whatever comes to your mind at first, fill it out, get somewhere quiet, get somewhere just like fill it out, and then email it to me. And I'll give you my feedback. You don't have to email it to me. If you get the answers, that's good enough. But if you want that, I'm willing to do that for the people who do so. So that's one of the first things you have to do is you have to establish a vision. If you want to break patterns in your life, you have to establish a vision. You can see in families where the people in the families never established a vision for their family. And you can always see that because they leave no inheritance. They leave no inheritance for their future generations, right? They never establish a vision for the family. Everyone's just running buck wild. There's no peace in the household. There's no order in the household. The kids don't have order. The family doesn't have order. There's no structure. There's no nothing. There's no rules. There's no nothing. It's just everybody just kind of doing something, right? We've all seen it. Thanks for your help. That's my aha moment. Absolutely. Thank you. So, you have to get back to what it is that you want to do. And then when you have the vision, you just work backwards from there. But one of my favorite parts about this, and then I'm gonna get on to the second step, because that's where we're on. There's more steps, but I think for most of you, these are the beginning portions. But one of the best things that are in there is finding new opportunities. Most of us, and I mean, I'm talking to myself too, because I'm learning this more and more and more. Most of us really don't know how to use our gifts and to identify opportunities where our gifts can be utilized. So most of the opportunities that you find and that are going to be fruitful and prosperous for you are going to be opportunities where you're allowed to use your gifts, and that your gifts are going to be utilized to solve a problem. Now, the first problem with that is most people, if I were to ask y'all right now to type in at least, I'm going to say three gifts that you have that aren't just different iterations of the same thing. Type it in. What are the 3 gifts that you have? And so one of my favorite parts of this workbook is what's called a gift tree. And so you start off writing in all of your gifts, right? And it's really, you can do it. I have it in the workbook twice, right? But you can do it 4 times, 5 times. And so what you do is you write in gift number 1. One of my great gifts is creating buy-in. I get people to buy in anything. Now, I won't get people to buy in anything unless I think it's prosperous, right? And the Lord is like, you good. But one of the things I had to do was I wrote out 5 different ways that I can use that gift that are different. So some of it was to raise funding or fundraising, selling products, conflict resolution, coaching, creating awareness, and so I thought about that. And so you want to do that for all of your gifts. And so you start off there. This gift, 5 different ways that you can use it. It doesn't have to mean you don't want to think about like, oh, well, what if this, what is that? You just throw it out there. Here are 5 different ways that I can use it. The second portion of that's in this workbook is finding opportunities, asking yourself, what's missing in the marketplace? What's missing around me? What are people complaining about? And then you go back and look at, hey, what part of my gifts can fill in this gap? How can my gifts fill in this gap? And then you have a blueprint about how to find new opportunities. Because sometimes it's not that you don't want to use your gift. You just don't know how to find or create new opportunities based on your gifts. And I would advise that every single one of you guys operate in the space and places of where you're gifted at, right? Because that's what you're anointed in. That's the thing that's going to come easily to you. It's not something that you're going to have to like go crazy for. So take the time, do that. So if you know what your gifts are, you know what your vision is, then you just need to run with that thing. Or maybe you need some support. You can schedule a session with me, a one-on-one session, and I'll be very, very happy to meet with you for maybe in 90 minutes, or for some of y'all 45 minutes, and just to do that, right? But do something with it. Now, the other side to it is understanding that once you have a vision, the second thing that you have to do, hey, Mario, the second thing that you have to do is start to reconcile your identity. Now, this sounds a little crazy, but I promise y'all, there's a method to this. And I went back and started taking like inventory of my process. Like, okay, you have these clients, you get these types of results with them. What is it that you're actually doing? And it wasn't until I sat back and I really went through the process that I take everyone through that I recognize the first thing, two things that I do with anyone that I work with is one, figure out what it is that they want and get very, very clear about what they want in every area of their lives, right? And then establish a strategy to make sure that we get there piece by piece. And that's what this workbook will do. That look, you're like, look, maybe you don't have the money to set up coaching. You just want to see like, is this girl legit? Download the workbook. Because I promise you're gonna get something out of just that. I had to redo it myself this year. So now I'm in a habit of going through this thing every single year, no matter what, right? So I figure out what they want and establish a strategy to get there. Now, here's the part that most people miss. You can have a vision, you can have a strategy and still not take action on it if your identity isn't in alignment with what it is you're trying to achieve. Meaning, you don't see yourself like that. It's just like, and we can do this with ourselves. You ever like go out and you realize like you're trying to date someone and they just don't see you like that? Or you've had someone try to date you and they're like, I just don't see you like that. And it's not, and when it's from another person, there's nothing that you can do about it. But when it's you and you don't see yourself in that way and you don't define yourself in that way, then what you do is you end up acting out of all of the ways that you actually identify and define yourself. And so some people, they don't even realize it, but the way that they see themselves is always as the underdog. So when it's time to implement a strategy, they go and they implement it like they're the underdog. They're all resentful. You see, nobody want to buy from me. You know, every time I try to get help, nobody want to support me. This always happens. This always happens. This is what people always do. Blah, 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 blah. I can never get ahead. And so when they go to implement this strategy, they have the wrong energy behind it. And they implement everything like an underdog. And how you can always tell is that people who identify as an underdog without realizing it, this is the thing, that could be you. And you can go through your whole life not realizing that a part of your identity is like Thomas, Tom, Ashley, underdog, Jones. And you don't even recognize it because it's something that happens subconsciously. So what I do is I pull that kind of stuff out of people. And so if say the underdog is a way that you define yourself, until you redefine that and you take on a new identity in that area and you redeem that and you refresh it and you renew your mind in that area, you will always play to not lose instead of playing to win. And how, like, you never win the game playing to not lose. You always come as a strong runner up. But sometimes life will take you to a place to where you need to win big. You got to win big. You know, there's been times in my life where I was like, this season, there are no losses. We are in a season of all wins, no losses. Period. Right? And just the way that things line up. And sometimes you just got to be dogged about that thing, right? This is a season of all wins, no losses. And so that can be some of the subconscious ways that you've come to identify as an underdog. You know, I've seen people identify as a lot of ways. Sometimes they can be like, well, one of the things that I really love is like the non-people person. Well, I'm an introvert. Yeah, introverted doesn't mean that you hate people and that you're unable to interact with people. Introvert means that you just prefer to be on your own, but when you do interact with people, you interact with them as an introvert. So maybe you're not as loud as me and as this or that, but you can come and just have a very calm, hey, this is what this is, boom, 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 boom. You may not have all the jokes, you may not have all the everything, right? And you just interact with the world based on someone that may be an introvert. So maybe you're just very knowledgeable, you're very nice, you're very even. And really, what that ends up turning into is that a lot of people really trust you, because most people really trust introverts. That's how they're able to get away with a lot of stuff too. It's always the person that you least expect. I was always the person that the teacher blamed and just assumed that I was the person who started the mess. Like, Yannick, I know that was you. And I'm like, it was not me. It was him. The guy that says 3 words every year. It is absolutely him. But it's the extroverted people that get blamed. Why? Because people naturally trust the introverted person, the good boy or good girl. That's all that is. But if you've defined yourself as, hey, people just don't like me or whatever, then you will act out of that reality. So you can set up the vision and the strategy, but the way that you define yourself isn't consistent with what you need to be in order to make that vision come to life. And the reason this is so insidious is oftentimes, however we've come to define ourselves isn't really authentic to who we are. It's just someone said it to you, and if enough people say it to you, you eventually convince yourself that that was true. But how many of y'all have seen people that were very introverted and they get on stage and they just turn it on out of nowhere? That's something that everyone has access to. You can just turn it on. Like, I'm not always a talkative person. If you actually see me in the house for the majority of the day, I'm usually pretty quiet. Right now, when I'm ready to just bust out and talk and things like that, I do it. But that's not something that I just do. So that's the second thing, is you have to really, really get intentional about how you have really defined yourself. And all your definitions are really the box, right, that you live out of. And you don't even realize it, that there's a box around you. And the box around you is just based on how you define yourself, how you see yourself. Maybe, and we see this a lot, especially as kids, right? Where somebody called you ugly. And if enough people called you ugly, you may start to believe it. But really, they just have conventional taste. Their taste is like Target or Walmart. Everybody got the same thing. Nothing different, nothing that challenges the status quo. It's just made for mass consumption. Well, guess what? Maybe your face wasn't made for mass consumption. Maybe you like Grace Jones and it was made for a luxury brand. That's it. Everybody's not Walmart. And the good thing is, great. You know what? You are for who you're for. And so maybe, and this is the thing, is that over time, we've absorbed all of people's opinions, right? But we've never taken the time to really answer to, I love Grace Jones. A lot of people do, but can you imagine like Grace Jones growing up in the Caribbean and constantly being plastered with people that have conventional features or conventional beauty, or in conventional taste? Exactly. And so when you have conventional taste, you don't like it unless you've seen everybody got it. Some people really don't have style, right? They just go and buy what's popular. So for those people, it's like, if it hasn't rolled across their screen 10,000 times, they don't like it. If it's anything different about it, anything that stands out about it, they don't want it. And that's okay. That just means that you aren't for them. You are for the people that are going to, be in fashion history. You're going to do something different. You're going to stand out. You're going to do all those things. Now, the reason this is important is a lot of us absorb this information as children. And when you're a child, you're a sponge. And our subconscious is also a sponge, and it has no filter, meaning whatever you tell your subconscious, it absorbs as being true. If someone told you were stupid and you didn't have an answer to that, you're like, oh, well, then I must not be smart as everyone else. I must be the dumbest person in the room. And now the scariest part about this is many of us have come to define ourselves by things people said about us when we were children. But when you were a child, you didn't have the information and the wisdom to challenge what was being said to you. Right? Like every time I come on here, someone's like, why you shave your head bald? Da, 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 da. If I had this haircut when I was a child, I would have been like, I shouldn't be doing this. Da, 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 because I didn't have the information to challenge it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you don't like it, but I love it. I love being this bald headed scallywag. And it allows me to do what I need to do. And it allows me to stand out. And it's branding. And people remember me no matter where I'm at. Sometimes I'll walk around at the mall and people be like, oh, I see you on Instagram. And I know it's not my face because a lot of people always tell me that I look like somebody they know. I know it's just the hair. I'm the only bald-headed scallywag with blondish, honey blonde hair that they see online. That's always running their mouth. Exactly. Be your own brand. Exactly. So that's what it is. But when you take in this information as a child, you don't have the skills yet to challenge and the information yet to challenge what this person said to you. And so your subconscious took it in, and you don't realize that 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years later, you're still operating based on these definitions. Someone told you you was ugly and you look like a roach, and now you have a beautiful idea and a brand, but you won't go out and promote that brand. You won't be the face of that brand because someone, when you were in third grade, told you you were ugly and you didn't even realize it. So this is why this is the part 2 of everything that I do, is really starting to challenge how people see themselves and making them bring that into their conscious mind and to pull out what's in the subconscious into the conscious mind. So I did this workshop last Saturday and it was amazing. It was amazing. And shout out to the first people who took this workshop because they had the trust and the wherewithal to go through it. And when I'm telling y'all, it was great. And they were like, yo, you brought up some stuff that I'm still thinking about 2 and 3 days later. Right? And it's about going back, because it's going back and reconciling the subconscious things that we took into our system, and you reconcile it, you identify it, so that way you can go ahead and tear it down, or you can support it. Because you can't really battle an enemy that you can't define or locate or identify. But once you can identify it, you can go to war with that thing and you can slay it. You can slay it. And this is the thing, is we are subconsciously acting out of all these different definitions that we have about ourselves and the way that we've come to identify and define ourselves without realizing it. So how many of you guys had someone or had a teacher, and this is the bad part, is a lot of it was said just haphazardly, or just like, oh, you can show, you got a big head, or sometimes it was like a sneak diss, like, man, so-and-so is the smartest person in our family, and you're not the so-and-so. So you're like, maybe I'm not smart, because I know I'm not doing what they're doing, right? Because they only talk about so-and-so. Or the worst part is they do the comparison thing, and you start to compare, where everyone said, this person is all that. And you're like, I'm nothing like them. So clearly I don't meet that definition. And you subconsciously took on a new definition of yourself that is not whatever that is. And so every time it's time for you, and it's for you to be whatever that thing was on the other side, you don't do it because you're like, oh, that ain't me. How many of y'all have said this? That ain't me. Friend, most of us don't even know who me is. Right? You haven't even taken the time to really do the work to figure out who you are. You haven't even dug deep enough to get to your authentic self. I remember there was this time I used to be like, I am so authentic, blah, blah, blah. Friend, I was so far off. It wasn't until I really got deep with God and started doing the work that I really discovered the real me. And I was like, yo, this new person is dope. But this is really the old person, the person that God originally intended me to be before the fools got a hold of me, before the world got a hold of me, before all these, images and ideas and programming and everything else got a hold of me. And the biggest part is a lot of that is used for control techniques. So, and this is the scariest part. If you're not living out your vision, you are typically living out someone else's vision for you. And it's always going to serve their best interest and not yours. Some of y'all are in whole careers and whole lifestyles that you hate because a parent or a teacher or someone told you that's what you were supposed to be. And they just went in on turning you into whatever that thing is. I have met so many clients that are trying to do something new with their life because they bought into what their parents tried to make them, and they were miserable. That's when you see people with whole law degrees, whole doctorates, things like that. And what are they doing now? Costume design. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But my thing is, friend, you should just start with that. And it happens to everyone. So don't feel bad. It happens to everyone. So what you want to do, if you don't have a vision, download the workbook. You don't need a physical copy unless you're just one of those people that has to have one. And I'll have one shipped to you. But I want you to do the digital one because you can fill it out really as we're speaking. As you're listening to this TikTok, you could already be halfway done and know. And this is why this is so important to me. Is part of my divine assignment is making sure that people are completing their life assignments. You don't want to die and just know I was supposed to do that, and I just never did. I know I was supposed to be a doctor. I know I was supposed to do this. I know I was supposed to do that. I know I was supposed to, but I just never got around to it. And whenever you do that, not only will you suffer, right? But there will also be people who were attached or who were supposed to be attached to you as you were operating in that space that also don't get what they need. Like for some of y'all, I've had at least 3 people send me messages and or comment on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube saying, hey, you just answered a question that I had or that I've been praying about. Had I not gotten on here when I was assigned to do it, those people would have gone without getting that question answered or until God sent them somebody else to do it. There are things that you're supposed to be doing that someone else's destiny is attached to. And this is what I love, okay? So God says your gifts will make room for you and bring you in the rooms with important people and is the answer to your life's complaints. Those are actually 2 separate verses, by the way. So for all y'all Bible scholars, don't be mad at me. I just kind of condensed them in both, right? So meaning not only will they make room for you, meaning the things that you have in you are going to be the thing that brings you to that, but it's also the answer to your life's complaints. Meaning everything that you hate. Right? I wish my money would be better. I wish I could meet another person. I wish da 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 da. Why do I feel lonely? Da 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 da. I'm so bored. I'm so this. I'm so that. If you were pursuing and using your gifts, you'd be in the right rooms. You'd be around the right people. You'd probably meet your partner because you went to this networking event about other people who like to crochet dog toys, whatever, whatever that thing is. And then you met someone else that loves to crochet dog toys, right? But that can't happen because you refuse to take it out the box. You refuse to take it out the box. And part of the reason you refuse to take it out of the box is because someone 20 years ago told you you should settle. Someone 20 years ago told you you wouldn't amount to nothing. Someone 20 years ago told you you were ugly. Someone 20 years ago told you you should hate yourself. Someone, 20 years ago said this, that, and the third. And the sad part is some of y'all don't even remember it, but your subconscious still remembers it. Your soul still remembers it, and you're acting out of that soul wound. So if you know that's you need to be in the workshop this Friday. I'm doing a repeat because Saturday was so great, and I appreciate everyone who joined, but I was like, I know everyone who was supposed to be on there was not on there. So I'm doing a repeat this week. One, because I want to hear it again for myself, because I had an aha moment, and I posted about it, but if you didn't hear it, my aha moment was all throughout my childhood, people in my family, people in school, people everywhere used to call me weird, right? Now, I was peculiar, and I'm still peculiar. I'm still different. I am still not made and bred for mass consumption. That's okay. Now, I've embraced that, but what ended up happening without me realizing it until I taught and took in this session on Saturday was that what that did was make me think there was something wrong with me or something missing. And it made me apprehensive about showing myself and being vulnerable. So I wouldn't put my ideas out there. And I would do it a little bit, but I really wouldn't go all the way. It's just like, it's like dipping your foot in the pool, or you're like a little turtle. You kind of bring your head out a little bit. You take a peek, but just enough, right? So we're just enough to say that you put your head out there, but not enough to really move and do something and enjoy life. All right. And now I'm like, okay, cool. I am weird. I am different. God said we are going to be a peculiar people. And that's okay, because guess what? The world needs different. Everyone's dissatisfied with what things are. The world needs different. The world needs weird. The world needs different, right? And so I had to sit there and be like, oh my gosh, you're right. And this is why, and blah, 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 blah scenario, you only took it like 60%. You held back because somewhere in there is like, hey, your true self is weird. Now that may seem like, I don't know. Can anyone relate to that? That might just be my portion, but I'm saying this to say that every single person I've ever worked with, well, I'll say 95% of the people that I've worked with have all had these things in their identity that I take in, and I notice, I'm like, hold on, what's that? Oh, well, I'm just not, I don't think that's true. Who told you that? And then once I challenge it, they come to realize like, oh, that came from, I had this experience. And I'm like, okay, cool. So you came to define yourself by that experience. You're not what you've experienced. You've just experienced that as who you are. But sometimes we'll begin to define ourselves based upon what we've been through, not recognizing that, hey, that was just something you've been through, but you're still the same person. I'll give you an example. Some of us have been in some form or fashion victimized, meaning somebody did something to you that they had no business, or they shouldn't have, right? Or you've been through something. Maybe someone stole your identity. Maybe your ex lied and cheated on you and scandalized your name and everything else, right? And you were victimized. That does not make you a victim. But sometimes subconsciously, after having been victimized in some sort of way, you started identifying with a victim without even realizing it. So now you start acting out of that identity by mistake and wondering why you're not attracting and getting to where you want to be. Because what's for you is for the real you. What's for you is for the real you. But if you're acting out through this false version of yourself, and you're wondering why you're not getting it, is because you haven't showed up as you in 1 to 2 to 10 to 20, for some of y'all 50 years. And you're like, why does it seem like I can never get to there? It's always within sight and reach, but I can never get to there. Because that's for you. That's for you, not for them. So if that resonates with you and you want to excavate, so true. Thank you. I thought it was true too. As I was coming up with this, because y'all, I literally had an aha moment. And I had an aha moment with the Lord. The Holy Spirit downloaded this to me, and it was like, it's time. And this, like all of last year, I was like, what do I want to do next? Being a typical busybody. And really, it was just a transitional year to restore my mind, to renew my spirit, to reprioritize, to redirect, to cleanse, to heal, to do everything like that. And once that process was complete at this current level, then boom, it was like he gave it to me all at once. And then I literally have it written down. And it's a part of this, but also just even more detail, which is called my divine assignment. So not just like my vision and my goals, but like, what is my God-given assignment? And part of that is helping people change how they see themselves and recognizing their divine potential and taking action, right? And the thing that I'm being held accountable to in the spiritual realm is there are certain people that are going to come into my life that I am going to be personally responsible for making sure that they complete their life assignments. That doesn't mean that I'm going to make it happen for you, but meaning like it's up to me to pour into them to the point to where they do the things that's been put in them to do. And really, it's just undoing the work of the enemy. Like, maybe the devil been telling you that you're stupid and ugly and that you'll never make it, and that success is for those people and not you or whatever. And I come along to undo that. Be like, no, friend, it's for you. He lying. He's a liar. He has no ability to tell the truth. He's lying. Friend, he's lying. For some of y'all, it's in the natural. He's literally lying. But for some of y'all, it's spiritual and or both. Like the devil been lying. That little spirit is lying to you. You have it in you. And so when the time came, it was like boom, 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 boom. And so I have this 6-page document. And so whenever I'm like, okay, Lord, what's next? I always refer to this, be like, okay, let's not forget, this is your divine assignment. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Let me make sure I host something to help people with that. And so as I was writing out the curriculum, I knew this is what was next, which is healing your identity, restoring your identity, renewing your identity. I was writing out everything that I was going to do. As I was writing it out, it was just like, it was coming to me. It was making sense. Boom, 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 whatever. Cool, finished it. I hadn't really taken it all in until I actually taught it. And when I taught it, I was also going through the exercise myself. And that's when that revelation hit me. And there were some other things too, but maybe you'll hear more about that on Friday. So the workshop's on Friday. You can go to the link in my bio, sign up. It's from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. I'm going to try to get it done in an hour. But y'all, we're going to be flowing until like 2:30 p.m. on Friday, Eastern Standard Time. Join. It's going to be worth your time. It's going to be helpful. But a lot of times we think that the thing that we're missing is something tangible. And 9 times out of 10, everything that I help people with are the intangible things, the things in their mindset, the strategy, the skill set, the direction, the vision, the execution, right? Those are the things that get people working. Now, if you're someone where you're like, I just need funding and I have all that stuff down, then just go and get the funding. I'm not the person for you. But if you know that it's like, look, I need better strategy. I need a better mindset. I need to do some work with my identity. And how do you know that, right? Because typically there's already something in front of you, meaning you already have good things happening. You just don't know how to take it to the next level. You already have the ideas. You already have this. You just don't know how to get that thing going. Let's get it going. And then once you get it going, I'll send you off to someone that's like, look, okay, you got this $1 million idea. You're making millions of dollars, but maybe you need 50 million in funding. I know who you need to call because that ain't me. Right? Someone that's been in the finance and banking industry, and they know who to call, the people, and they have the contacts, and they know this, and they know the wording, and they know how to write the contracts, and they know what to put in there, what not to put in there. They know how to go out and do that stuff. Those are more like tangible things, right? But most people, like, there's a very small percentage of millionaires, and we know that gap is happening, and that the middle class is shrinking. And there's a lot of reasons why, but I strongly believe that some of it is just because most people are not using, the skills and the gifts that they have, and they've settled for the conventional. They have settled for the conventional, and the conventional has turned on them. Because when you just go with the flow, you got to go with the flow, whether it's flowing up or it's flowing down. Right? But when you create your own lane and you follow that, and it's like, look, God gave a path for me. I'm getting on that path. I'm not getting on so-and-so's. This is what society told me to do. I'm just following the path. Then if whoever's path you get on, you got to stick with that path, and you got to be ready to go with, if that path goes down like this, if it goes up, if it goes around, you got to be okay with it. So the cool thing is, when you follow the path, your divine path, what God put in you, then you're on his path. And it's wherever it says wherever he's taking you, and not what society says, because society will turn on you quick. Quick! Society always chooses itself first. Period. Point blank and the period. So I'm saying all that to say, most of you don't have issues Your first problem is not necessarily the tangible. You got to fix the intangible first so you can get to the tangible. Because the tangible is easy to get. You probably already got the money. You probably already got the website. You probably already got this. You probably already had that, and it's somehow still not working. You have all the resources, but it's not being put together properly. That's how you know it's the intangible. And society will try to tell you that life is lived from the outside in. And they say that because that's easy. It doesn't take work. It's like one of the reasons why I've done well at my job and in my work is I was willing to do the work that other people didn't want to do, which is development. The reason why you go to certain corporate settings or whatever, and they don't really develop people is because development is hard and it takes time and it takes more resources and it takes a greater level of emotional and mental investment and time investment. Training is just that. Boom, 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 boom. You put up a schedule, you put up a curriculum. Here you go. Here's your materials. Do this workbook. Go through these videos. Boom, 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 boom. Training done. Development is not enough like that. And it's not just like, boom, it moves around. And so I was just willing to develop people. And I know that that's the reason why people typically don't do as well. Is usually it's not for a lack of resources, right? It's usually for something internal that doesn't allow them to turn it on. Right? Like, you know how we have the word beast mode? Like, I went to beast mode and I just did blah, 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 blah. Hey, Rashawn, I went to beast mode and I did da, 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 da. If you went to beast mode and you got it done, that means the beast was already in there. Why haven't you already released it? Getting to your identity and doing the work to heal your identity will let you know why you don't always release the beast. Why don't you always have that level of drive? Why is it only when your back is against the wall? When really you're just showing your true self. You're really showing your true potential. And when beast isn't a mode, you just finally admit that you're a beast. You're a tiger. You're a lion. You're not a cat. You're not a poodle. You know, you're a whole wolf out here, a whole lion out here, a whole jaguar out here, pretending and identifying as a kitten. And you're wondering why you're getting eaten up by tabby cats who think they're lions. We've owned some of those cats. Can't tell them they're not the king of the jungle. Okay? Out here attacking everything at 10 pounds, sometimes being successful. So you have to get to the root of that. And then what you'll start doing is taking action based upon your new definitions. And it's going to have the flavor and it's going to have the energy and the attitude and the confidence and the audacity of your true self. It's going to allow what's in you to come out and be seen. Now, because it's not necessarily the goal, right? It's about how you take action on said goal. And the type of action you take will determine the result. But we tend to act consistently or congruently or in alignment with how we identify. So if you identify as someone that's victorious, meaning you always beat everyone out, then you're going to take action as a victorious person. If you subconsciously or consciously identify as a victim, you're going to take action as a victim would. Right? To where instead of going for it, you might be complaining and this is wrong and that and wrong, or you'll be hyper focused on everything that could go wrong instead of hyper focused on everything that can go right. And you do that so much to where you get crippling anxiety and end up doing nothing. Does that sound familiar to anybody? So I'm saying that to say there are some of you who need to immediately download the vision course because you got to know what you want, and no one can help you with a vision that you don't have. You can't even help yourself with a vision that you have no clarity about. Write the vision and make it plain so that all who see it can run with it. You're like, nobody's helping me. Helping you to do what? You're not even able to properly articulate what you need help with. You're not even able to properly articulate where you plan on taking this thing to where they can't help you with a vision that they can't see. And so you're just sitting there thinking nobody wants to help me, but you haven't taken the time to write the vision and make it plain so someone can run with that to where they understand what's happening. So go through it, download it, do it today. Don't wait. You don't have time for tomorrow, right? We are, and I said this to y'all. This was prophetically. I said this at the beginning of the year, but I haven't said it in a long time. The days where you can treat your goals in life like Uber are over. What do you mean by that, Yanni? Oh, how about I tell you? I don't know if anyone else has felt this, but we are no longer in a time where things are happening slowly. The world is changing quickly. Things are not getting easier. They're getting harder. They're getting more expensive, right? And some of it is on purpose. Some of it is because the powers that be got mad when all y'all said you're not going back to work. And when all y'all decided to no longer go with the program. And they're like, oh, you're not coming back to work? Let's get these housing prices up. Let's keep this inflation up. Let's keep these interest rates up. Let's make it to where you cannot afford to survive unless you come back and slave again. Okay, I said it. I didn't mean to say it, but I said it. All right. So some of that is by design. A lot of it's by design. But part of the reason why you end up having to succumb to it is because you refuse to follow God's plan for your life. You refuse to use your gifts. You always go with the conventional. You settle. You just go down where everybody said, just as long as I do this, I'll be fine. And you're just like, do. And you do it until the system turns on you. So things are changing. What you've been doing will no longer work. We're seeing it already with AI. Hey, maybe you thought that you were going to do this and that. And as an attorney, you're going to just write up all these contracts or whatever. Well, boom, boom, here we are. I can have AI right now write me a lease agreement, right? Write me a lease agreement for the state of whatever state I'm in. Agreement for this property that is legally binding and upholds the laws in this zip code. It's crazy. I'm just putting one in for one of the homes I own. Boom, got a lease agreement. Now, this is how they do it, right? They said they can't do one that's legally binding, but they sipped it and then said, look, if you want to find an attorney here, but they literally wrote out an exact lease agreement. That's probably a little bit better than the one that I have right now, right? And I read into it, but they told me, hey, look, this is the bar agreement for Louisiana, because this house that I'm speaking about is particularly in Louisiana. And it still has, based on here's what it is. The world is changing. And for some of you, the gifts that you have are going to be the things that make room for you and that are going to answer your complaints and that are going to make you be able to stand tall and to stand on your 2 feet in this next section of life. But what I mean by we're no longer in the phase of life where we can treat our goals and our dreams like Uber. See, Uber is, you call it Uber, it comes in front of your house. And if you're not ready yet, the Uber will sit in front of your house until you're ready to get on. It may charge you a couple of dollars extra, but that driver, for the most part, if they need to wait 10 or 15 minutes, they're going to wait until you get ready to do what you need to do, until you decide to walk out your house. Those times are over. We're now in a place to where you got to treat your dreams and your goals like a flight on Delta. Meaning, hey, if this is the season for you to get this thing done, if this is the season, God is like, look, you need to get this thing done now. If you don't make that flight, you just missed your flight, period. And you got to wait until the next one comes around. So yeah, if it's your season to do things right then and now, and you decide to sit down, because we all have free will and we all have the ability to do what we want to, and God don't force nothing on us, but he keeps driving in your spirit. All right, come on. And you miss that flight, you might have to wait another 3 years before that next that next season before you comes back again. And let me tell you, I've been through this myself. When you delay in a season and you procrastinate, that season in between when you're waiting for your next big opportunity is bleak. It's like you are robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're doing just enough to get by. And maybe you have a lot of money, but you don't have enough energy. Maybe, and then you got to sit in a job that you hate to where all your bills are paid, but you got to sit in emotional, you know what, stank for 3 years in a place that you hate until that next season comes again. That's what I mean by we are no longer in a time and space to where you can treat your goals, your desires, and the things that you need to do like Uber. It's not going to just sit and wait in front of your house until you get ready. We are in a season where you got to be ready to catch that flight on Delta. Meaning, if they say that flight's going to leave at 3:00, them doors may close at 2:15. They might mess around and call your name 3 times to close that door. And you'll shut out and you just gotta wait until the next plane comes. And you can't call nobody. And they're not giving you a credit. And they're charging you a change fee. And looking at you like, okay, well then go ahead and go on Spirit. They might be able to get you something for $50 and lose all your luggage. So this is why you have to do the work now. Now, this is the hardest part about this type of thing is these are the things that have to be done, but no one else can do this but you. It's like getting in shape. No one can get in shape for you. I wish somebody I can delegate going to run a few miles for me every day. You know what I mean? Like, can somebody else go to the gym for me? It's just like that. No one else can stop you from eating a burger if you know you're not supposed to. You have to decide to stop doing it. But when it comes to taking the time to write out your vision, taking the time to really brainstorm through, your new opportunities, figuring out, okay, what are my gifts, right? Because, and this is the unfortunate side, is a lot of people, no one ever really affirmed you, right? Because that affirmation is a gift. And, we may come from families where people only criticize and they didn't affirm. So you can go your whole life and not know your gifts. And then you're just trying to use whatever you picked up on and going against the grain because you're not using your gifts to give you that extra leg up. And it's important because our gifts make room for us. So you need to be able to identify your gifts, and you need to go back and take inventory of how you've been defining yourselves, because we are all acting out of our definitions. I played this video of a cockatoo that was raised by dogs that instead of flying and chirping, he's barking like a dog, running on the floor. Now I said, what's crazy is there's something that the dogs are barking at on the other side, but the cockatoo was the only one that was physically capable of actually getting to the other side. But meaning it could fly over the fence. But because the cockatoo was identifying as a dog, it was doing the things the same way that the dog was when it was actually in a better position to make the play, to run the play. And we're often like that. It's just no one ever realized and you never thought about it. So 2 things, because I got to get off and I have an appointment to get something notarized. Download the workbook if you don't have a vision today, now. And also come to the workshop on Friday. Even if you're like, I'll be 5 or 10 minutes late, it's okay. For everyone who joins, even if you're late, I'm going to send you out the replay anyway. And when you sign up, I have it on my website. I will send you the confirmation with all of the call-in information, the dial-in information, everything like that. Give me 8 hours to send it to you. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want to put it on Eventbrite and have people paying extra fees. So I just wanted it to be what it was and then call it a day. So again, Yannick, let me tell you guys, I've been coaching for over 10 years now. It's actually closer to 15. I just don't want y'all to know how old I am. But for over 15 years, this is something that I do. And if you are looking for someone that can help you pull that destiny out of you, that is also going to give you godly advice, Because some of y'all going to people that's going to read you tarot cards and everything like that and get you bound at the same time, that wants to give you godly advice. Come to me. Because I have 15 years of experience. I just get results. I ain't gonna lie. I get the results. One of my recent clients, I surprised myself. I knew she could do it though. But one time those results came in for her quickly, but I knew it was. When we established what this year was going to be for this person, I said, look, this is going to be your breakout, bloom, harvest year. That's it. You put in the time. Let's wrap this thing up. Because this person was treating their journey like they were running a marathon when really they had a 400-yard dash. But if you run that 400-yard, or you say I'm gonna run a marathon, you'll just be sitting there 20 miles, just going slow, right? When really you're supposed to be sprinting. But you just, because you think the goal's far away. I was like, girl, this is a 100. This is a 400. This is 2 mile. This is 800. This is not a marathon. We are going to run this little 800. We're going to run quickly. We're going to go. We're going to get the prize money. We're going to get the reward. We're going to do everything. We're going to get out of here. That's what this year is going to be. And it's literally been 12 weeks. And she's like almost already there. So if that's you and you're like, look, I just want coaching. I want development. Go to the link in my bio and schedule a session, a discovery session, which I will coach you, but then we'll establish what's the best steps. If it's going to be long-term, if it's just 90 minutes, if it's whatever. So, because my goal is to make sure that you actually finish, because it drives me crazy until I see you actually do the thing. I'll be in this strange place. Any of y'all like that? Like you can't leave something undone. You're just like, no, close this thing up, finish folding it. Do that thing. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate y'all getting on. Some of y'all getting on every Wednesday. And, I hope you decide to take it to the next level. And if anything, even if this is the last time you spoke with me, I hope that you take something from this and apply it. And you allow information to turn into wisdom, knowledge to turn into wisdom. And knowledge only turns into wisdom once you apply it. Otherwise, you are just an informational hoarder. Just like on that TV show. You got information that got little rats and cats underneath it that you realize. All right, bye, y'all. This is why people call me weird. Bye, y'all. And bye.